Welcome back to MotoringBox. I'm Sean McKellar and today I'm going to show you an awesome new product from my friends at Ozeparts. Now I say friends because these are the same guys that produce those halo fog lights for the BA, BF, SX, SY territories, which I am extremely happy with. If you want to see a video, click up here in the corner. So the stock standard side indicator, I replaced these about a year ago and they're already starting to go a little bit yellow in the lens. I'm not the biggest fan of how they look, but thankfully Ozeparts have an LED replacement, which I think looks pretty good. So let's pop these out. I'll give you a little bit of a preview before we install them. So you simply disconnect your existing side marker from the loom, and then we can drop in this brand new LED replacement. Now I'm simply going to mock it up for now because we still need to run a 12-volt feed to this indicator. But if I just sort of sit it in place roughly here, that's pretty much how it's going to look. It's really cool that companies like Ozeparts are coming up with products for these cars because considering the Falcons like the BA, BF and pretty much every other Falcon was only made in Australia and available in Australia and New Zealand, there's not a lot of companies offering aftermarket parts like this. So the really cool thing about this flasher as well is there are 4 different modes. So we're currently on the first mode, which is a solid flash. You can go for one which is sort of progressing along. And then there's also 2 additional modes which are sort of a combination. So this one will do a solid flash and then a sort of progressive one. And there's one final mode which does multiple flashes of each one. So they kind of cycle between the 2. I think this one actually looks fantastic. So this installation should be fairly simple. It's simply plugging it into the factory loom. The hardest part is going to be a source, finding a source for this 12-volt line here. It needs to be a constant source which is available even when the car's turned off, because without it, the indicator is not going to flash. So I reckon we'll be able to pick up a 12-volt feed somewhere around the front guard here. Maybe you need to pull the front bumper off. But let's do some investigation and see how we go. Now the first step is to jack up your car. And why are we jacking up the car? Because we need access to the inner wheel well to get in behind where the indicator sits. So loosening the nuts when the wheel is on the ground is much easier before jacking the car up, getting the wheel off, and having a look at the inspection panel. So this panel is held in with a bunch of scrivets, which are a massive pain in the ass. I've found the best way is to try and get a flat bladed screwdriver underneath the scrivet head before unscrewing it and pulling the rest of it out. There are 3 scrivets here on the bottom of the panel, and if you want to, you can remove a few of the ones that are a bit further up before pulling the panel out of the way. You can wedge it up against the suspension swing arm and get access in behind it. In here we can see an existing wiring loom, but more importantly, an access hole which runs through to the engine bay of the car. My plan here is to build a standalone wiring loom beginning with this little fuse connector. I'm going to put a ring terminal on the end of it to connect to the positive post of the battery, running it through the fused section and then splitting the wire into 2 to run one side to the driver's side and one to the passenger side. I'm going to try and conceal this wire as much as I can, running it through the little rubber protective boot on the battery terminal, and then feeding the other end through the access hole in behind the guard. I can then pull it through the indicator hole on the guard, and then use a crimp style connector to connect it to the 12-volt wire on our aftermarket LED indicator. I am also going to wrap everything in heat shrink to try and seal it as best I can, but there shouldn't really be much of an issue with moisture in behind the guard here. We can then plug in our factory indicator connector and then set the indicator back against the guard. It should clip into place, and there are also 2 bits of double-sided tape to help stick it in place. I then held the end of my wiring loom against the positive post of the battery and we have success, so we are definitely on the right track. So after reinstalling the guard lining and putting the wheel back on, we can do exactly the same thing on the passenger side of the car. And the way I'm installing these indicators is really so I'm not messing with the originality of the car. I'm not hacking into any of the existing wiring looms, I'm simply making my own and threading it through the engine bay. This will mean if we ever want to go back to stock standard, it can be done within 5 minutes, and it'll look like as if nothing had ever changed. So with the installation complete, we can install our loom onto the positive post of the battery, tighten it up and refit the rubber protective boot. We can now do a test and make sure that both the passenger side and the driver's side are working correctly. and it looks as though we've had a win. So let's head outside and see how they look. So the installation's complete and I think they look pretty good. What do you think? Now, I put up a photo of these on Instagram and opinions were divided, but I think that just goes to show that everyone has different taste. So regardless of whether you love these or not, I think we can all agree that it is awesome that we have a choice, because without this product, you're limited to pretty much the stock standard side indicators. So if you're interested in this product, do click the link in the video description below. Thank you very much to Ozeparts. They of course made these awesome LED halo fog lights as well. If you want to see a video on those, I'll also link that up in the corner. I can highly recommend those fog lights for an awesome OEM fitment, but with that added flair of the LED halo. So whether you're interested in the halo fog lights or the LED side flasher, do hit up Ozeparts in the links in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.